Hey everyone, it's me, Yeonni. Sorry about my voice. I'm still very sick, so I'm recovering. So sorry, just putting that out there. I have this weird husky thing going on. Today's video is on how to talk to your parents about mental health, mental illness, getting help for mental illness, that sort of a deal. This is just kind of like dipping a toe into this really delicate and sensitive topic, but I did want to kind of get this video out there to kind of start a conversation to see where people are regarding this theme of trying to talk to your loved ones about your mental health. Just a disclaimer from the beginning, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm a graduate student in a social work program studying to become a social worker, so mental health, talking to family and like family dynamics when it comes to someone's mental health is something that I'm studying and have some experience in. So just that disclaimer. And second disclaimer, I guess, being Asian American, I'm Korean, I feel like a lot of my opinions may be just formed around my identity because that's the only experience that I know genuinely, because that's who I am and how I've grown up. So a lot of the times I may refer to Asian American culture, how Asian parents react, but I'm going to try to keep it general, but just letting you know in case that does happen. So we do have Pink here assisting us with our video, being extra adorable and cute today. So there's that, and let's just get straight into the video. So first things first, I think when it comes to this theme or topic of how to talk to your parents about mental health, it's such a delicate and sensitive topic. It's like, where do we even start, right? And like I said in that disclaimer, I'm Korean American, so having that conversation with my parents, I'm not even sure if I had the full conversation yet. I may have like hinted at it here or there, and my parents know that I study in this field, so it's something that I talk about a lot, maybe about other people mostly, not really myself, because that's still a bridge we have to cross. But I think number one thing to understand is, first, this is not an easy conversation to have, and I think we should understand that they might not understand. And like I said, there's so many different elements and factors that go into how this conversation can go. Culture is definitely a huge one. Being Korean American, at least in my culture, in Asian American cultures, I know that mental health can be perceived as a weakness or something that you kind of have to get over, something that's not real, or perceived as kind of like a shameful thing that we shouldn't really talk about, which is very different from Western culture, where we're seeing more of this embracing of having conversations on mental health and really like lifting up people who are suffering from mental health conditions. So that's very different. So a lot of things has to do with like, what is your culture? Kind of think of your parents' background, like if they're immigrants, when did they move to the States? If they're not, like what's their cultural background and how do they perceive mental health? I think if you want your parents to understand you and your condition, you kind of need to do some background research on how they will perceive it to kind of understand their reactions, whatever way that they'll react, and that way you're going in prepared on how they might react. And the second tip I can give you, which is really kind of a dumb tip but I think is important, is do it. Have that conversation with your parents, as delicate and scary as it may be. It really is the hardest part, I think, to kind of sit them down and say, hey mom, dad, I want to have mom, dad, or hey mom, hey dad, dad, whatever your parental unit is like. I want to have this serious conversation with you. It's something that's been on my mind. Please sit down. And I think it's really important to be firm and not be like, oh, it's but not a big deal. Because, like to kind of protect ourselves from how our parents may react, we could kind of be like, yeah, like I have this thing, but it's not that big a deal. But then if you say it's not a big deal, they'll think it's not a big deal. So we can't just assume that our parents will know like the extremities of our suffering and our condition or our experiences with our mental health and mental illness. So I think it's really important to be firm and be knowledgeable. So that's where the first part comes in. Do research about whatever condition you may be going through, or even if you're undiagnosed, if you're not sure but you're going through something tough, I think having that conversation with them is so important, and being firm and knowledgeable in mental health and in your specific mental health condition is very important. And of course, be prepared for questions. That's another point. They're going to ask a lot of questions. They could ask questions like, like, is this a real thing? Like, or how long have you been going through this if you've not had this kind of conversation before? Or they could ask things like, did you tell anyone? And don't, get too nervous or scared about that question, because I think what's important to realize about our parents and, like, growing up and trying to have these kinds of mature conversations is, in the core, they mean well. They obviously love you. They brought you into this world and raised you to whatever age you are. They want what's best for you, but sometimes they just might not know how to express that love or to show that love. So don't assume that they're trying to, discredit you or discredit your condition or whatever you're going through. They themselves are probably trying to process and understand. So be prepared for questions, answer respectfully, answer knowledgeably. I think that's another huge part. And I kind of alluded to this, but like, kind of be sensitive to insensitive comments. I say that because, like I said, your parents obviously care very much about you, I'm sure, but it's also like they might not know what the right things to say are. So we're all human. Your parents are human. They could trip over their words. They could say things that kind of hurt your feelings, like, oh, like I totally get depressed at times too, but it's okay. Like, pick yourself up with the bootstraps. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps? Is that the phrase? I'm not too sure, but they could say things like that, maybe because of lots of reasons, really. Maybe they weren't prepared for what they heard, so they're just trying to, like, say words to, like, kind of deal with the awkwardness, or them trying to even tone down what you're saying, because they don't want to think that their child is hurting. They don't want to believe that. So be prepared for potentially harmful or insensitive comments. I'm sure they don't mean it, and if it's the case where they do mean it, because all of our dynamics with our parental units are very different, then just realize you're in charge of this conversation. And if they say things to hurt you, just with any other conversation, just kind of, I would just say, like, in one ear, out the other. They're probably processing however they're processing it. I guess another reaction that could happen when you try to talk to your parental units about mental health is they could get angry. Kind of like, mental health awareness is very much in the forefront these days and these years, and mental health awareness and understanding that people can suffer from this silent illness. It's a more modern thing because of a lot of different reasons. Like, back in the day, like, we didn't have as many ways to measure anxiety or depression. We didn't really know it was a thing. So now there's more research, there's more fields like social work and psychology where people are studying to understand these things more. So back in the day, our parents might not have known about these things. So you could get those conversations like, oh, like, millennials these days, like, they don't even know what we had to go through, like, back in the day. Having this conversation with your parents, this might not be like the one and only conversation you will have regarding this matter. I guarantee you it won't be the only one, because once you've opened that door, kind of let your parents in on what's going on in your life, in your head, talk to them about whatever disorder you might feel like you have or you've been diagnosed with. Talk to them about potentially getting therapy or even medication. I always think it's a great idea to involve your loved ones in your journey of, because we can never get rid of a mental illness. It's something that we kind of have to live with and deal with and kind of, grow resiliency with. So having people who love you and care about you on the same boat as you go through this recovery journey is very important to even your own recovery and how you deal with the mental illness. For me, I suffer a lot with anxiety and panic attacks. They're not as common as they used to be, but I would have panic attacks in days when I just cannot deal with anything, anyone. I just need to stay in this room. I can't talk to anybody. I just need to be silent and just sit here. Like, I would skip classes, I would skip work, I would, like, back out on meetings and plans with friends, because I don't know, like, what it is, but, like, I would be so scared of just interacting with people. I didn't want to see people. Just the idea of stepping outside this room would scare me, and that hasn't happened for a while now, thank goodness. But yeah, like, that's a very real thing. And if my parents don't know what I'm going through, they do know to an extent, but then they might get angry. They might be concerned, like, are you really sick? Like, are you okay? But I let them know, like, it's like my anxiety, it's like one of those days. Then, like, they try to understand and kind of, like, back off and let me have my space. So that's why it's really important to kind of get them aboard on your life and what you're going through. So last but not least, having this conversation with your parents, talking about your mental health, mental illness, trying to get therapy, help, whatever, it's a very difficult conversation. It could be very painful. It could lead to misunderstandings even, or it could be really great, kind of really open up a new door of like getting close with your parents and trying to kind of come out of this stronger with like a stronger family bond. Who knows? That is definitely also a possibility. So it is a very delicate and difficult conversation to initiate, but I feel like it will be very worthwhile whether the result is positive or negative. If it's negative, you learn a lot about your parents and your own resiliency and walk of growing up. So that's another video too if you would like it, how to talk to parents who are very firm believers that mental illness is not a thing, which is very much a thing within the Asian community. That's for sure, that I know for sure. So that can be a video I can do where I can focus more on Asian American parents or Asian parents and culture and how mental health and talks of mental health can be potentially had. My feet are falling asleep. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay, I'm gonna be down here now because my feet fell asleep. But yes, so that's it for today's video. I hope I was able to help you to kind of even think about this idea of speaking to your parents or family about your mental health journey. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel. I make all sorts of different kinds of videos. You can check out my channel to see for yourself, but definitely some of my absolute favorite videos are these conversations on mental health, social justice, life things, happenings, because life is just so crazy at times. So yes, check out my channel to see what you might like. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.